Justice Dono. Foolish is the warrior who rushes headlong into battle. Preparation is an essential element of battle, so I advise you to take a gander at this. What is it? Footage from a security camera. As the two astronauts emerge from the bowels of the Launch Pad 1 corridor. The boarding lounge security camera captured their desperate escape. Now I would direct your attention to what the defendant is shouldering, which you can see is none other than the lifeless body of the victim. What?
Order! Order, I say! This lines up exactly with what the prosecution has been asserting.
I should have known Blackwell would have something like this ready. Oh, does not look good for us. Apollo, how exactly did they determine that Clay was already gone in that footage? Wouldn't you see a knife in his chest? I see what you mean. Whether Clay was still alive at that point is pretty crucial. Your Honor, please take another look at the footage. Isn't it possible that Mr. Terran was still alive here and that Mr. Starbuck was helping him?
Why, I believe you're right. One man carrying the other to safety. What a beautiful expression of friendship. It's so romantic.
Silence.
Perhaps that's what it looks like to a one-eyed hothead and a dotard. But it only makes sense if it's the victim's dead body. What do you mean? Fulbright, explain it to Justice Dono. He took his stupid pills this morning. You got it? Ready, kid? If the murder had occurred in the lounge, someone could have spotted it. Anyone could enter the lounge, after all. But doing it while they were alone in the spaceship, that's a horse of a different color.
Objection!
But you can't deny that there's a possibility the murder could have happened in the lounge. All that video shows is a man helping his fellow astronaut out.
Silence.
Your assertion is based on emotion. It's based in your belief that Mr. Starbuck would surely help his own disciple. But you have no logical explanation as to why the victim could still be alive.
Unfortunately, Mr. Justice, the prosecution is right. Your argument is lacking in sound logic.
But it sounded perfectly logical to me.
Well, Mr. Justice, if you have no further objections, I believe it's time to bring this cross-examination to a close.
Objections? Well, Athena, save me! Bail my butt out, Athena! Your Honor, the defense requests a little time to think and regroup. We didn't get to investigate. Kinda slept in this morning. Not really sure what's going on.
Given the facts, I'm not sure I see the need.
What is it, Athena? It's just... there's something that's been bothering me. If it isn't the defense stalling for time, as always. Very well. I'm feeling generous. You may have a small measure of time. Yes! Yes! You have 5 seconds. 5 seconds! After that, I declare this cross-examination to be closed and a verdict to be rendered. Your boldness, raise your gavel high. It's time for a final countdown.
Oh, I get to do a thing?
Ready? You don't have time. Spit it out, Athena.
Only 3 more seconds.
Look, I don't think the prosecution's explanation is very complete. Meaning time's up. Meaning there's something missing, like they conveniently left it unexplained. Something they didn't explain. Something they didn't explain. 2 foxes. Ah, you're right. I think I know what you're talking about.
Your 5 seconds are up, Mr. Justice. Is there anything about the prosecution's argument that you'd like to rebut?
Yes, Your Honor. Actually, there is. There's something the prosecution is yet to make clear to this court.
Well, if you put it that way, what is it that the prosecution has failed to explain?
The motive for murder, or why the body was moved. Oh! Let's see. Let's ask about why the body was moved. Because if you stabbed it, why pull it out? Right? They have failed to explain why Mr. Starbuck would bother bringing the body back at all. If the defendant wanted to kill the victim, why didn't he just leave his body in the rocket? Why go through the trouble of bringing him all the way back to the boarding lounge?
Oh, that's true. I don't think we've heard the prosecution's thoughts on that yet.
That's because they have none, Your Honor. After all, how does one explain something so illogical? The prosecution is claiming the defendant moved the victim's dead body. But what if the entire premise of that argument is wrong?
Then let's hear your theory, Mr. Justice.
The defense proposes that the defendant didn't kill the victim. He was helping him. Ah! Oh, you're so down immediately! Fulbright, explain it for our sad cycloptic friend here, before I nod off to his monotone monologue. Inform him exactly why Space Boy moved the victim. Huh? They gotta be joking. It's simple. Mr. Starbuck did what he did to direct suspicion away from himself. He wanted to create the impression he heroically risked his life to save his partner. That's why he made sure to make it to the security camera, so there'd be a record. At the very least, he appears to have achieved success with you and the old man. Ah!
One man carrying the other to safety. What a beautiful expression of friendship.
The average person wearing a spacesuit weighs easily over 200 pounds, saving the life of a partner who weighs as much while trying to escape deadly flames. What a dramatic sob story fit for the silver screen.
Indeed, I was completely taken in by the humanity of the story.
You see, yet the true ending is that all traces of his hammy act were meant to be blown up. Yes, and now we arrive at the thrilling conclusion. The third explosion!
Objection!
You were just gonna pass without talking about a third explosion? What are you talking about? There was no third explosion!
Silence.
Jet fuel could totally melt steel beams. Indeed, you are correct. But that is thanks to Detective Arm. It was she who identified and secured the bomb. However, it doesn't change the fact that the third bomb was discovered in the lounge. The steel coffin beside the witness stand. That would be a bomb transport case. We use that to transport the deactivated bomb here. It was found in the lounge, a bomb in the form of a most distasteful toy. What? One on the second floor of the main building, one on the launch pad, and one in the lounge. The defendant planned to set off 3 firework displays. Fortunately, the third was discovered before it could be detonated, for had it not, the victim's body and other vital evidence would surely have been immolated.
Objection!
Ah! Before you utter a word, know that the evidence supports me. It's like he's reading my mind. As it is still undergoing forensic investigation, I do not have the evidence on hand. However, know that a peculiar item was found in one of Mr. Starbuck's pockets. Specifically, a bomb detonation switch. That looks familiar. You found what? I suspect the defendant had no time to destroy such damning evidence. When the Space Center director and Detective Arm stumbled across the murder, so he thought to hide it in his pocket. Feeble-brained that he is. Astronauts are well known for being very stupid. No! Mr. Starbuck would never do anything like that! My other eye! No! Justice Stono, open your eye and see the truth.
This appears to be irrefutable evidence that the accused set off the explosions.
No, there has to be some kind of mistake. This can't be the truth. Still can't accept it? You'll believe in your client, come what may. Then why don't you cross-examine the defendant himself? This has got to be a trap. It's like Blackwell's controlling the entire game. Yeah, it seemed like he was waiting for me to bring up the body-moving issue. Why do you say that? Because he had just the right argument when I pointed it out. And to really rub it in, he had a decisive piece of evidence up his sleeve, too. He was trying to shake my faith in Mr. Starbuck and break me down. Then making you cross-examine Mr. Starbuck at this point was part of his plan, too. Totally underhanded, but I wouldn't expect anything less from him. Now let us hear from the arch-villain, the fiendish murderer himself, famed astronaut Solomon Starbuck.
Witness, your name and occupation, please.
Solomon Starbuck, astronaut. How did this happen?
Mr. Starbuck, you aren't looking very well. Will you be able to give testimony?
No.
Well, unfortunately, no is not an option.
Yes, it is. He's allowed to plead the fifth. He's very much allowed to not incriminating himself. As his lawyer, I can advise him to not take the stand.
You are being accused of the Space Center bombing and the murder of Clay Terran. Please testify to these allegations.
That's how you can tell it's actually Japanifornia and not America, because they don't seem to have a Fifth Amendment. Mind if I take this suit off? It's getting really heavy.
Silence.
It's not the weight of the suit that you feel, but of your sins. Prepare to carry that weight for the rest of your life. Boy, you're going to carry that weight. Banish me to the moon. I don't care anymore. Wow, that was super negative. Is he gonna be alright up there? He'll be fine, I think. As long as he doesn't totally give up and say he did it, that is. I didn't kill him. All I did was support Clay over my shoulder and get us out of that rocket. Like always, I took the elevator down to the middle level and headed for the corridor. Clay had passed out by the time we got to the order to evacuate. I didn't kill Clay. I was trying to save him. What is his logo? Gyaxa? Gyaxa? I like it.
So you assert you didn't set off the bombs or murder the victim?
But I bet you think I'm lying, right?
I reserve all judgment until after I've heard your full testimony.
I'm sure you don't believe me. I bet you don't even believe I'm an astronaut. I don't think the judge doubts that. Who'd wear a suit like that except an astronaut?
I will say that when I saw you in that movie, you appeared quite courageous, though I suppose reality never quite lives up to fantasy. Much like those adverts I put out on the internet. Anyway.
I guess I'm just a big disappointment.
I really don't care what happens anymore.
Oh, no, he's completely given up.
Hey.
What a depressing fellow. If you were to join me in the clink, I imagine that annoying sighing of yours would rub off on the other inmates. Soon they would all be going, like how it rubbed off on Prosecutor Blackwell a second ago? Huh? That was Blackwell sighing? Mr. Starbuck's testimony contains a glaring contradiction. The question is, what does it mean? Even if Mr. Starbuck is my client, I can't be gun shy now. It's time to find out the truth.
All I did was support Clay over my shoulder and get us out of the rocket.
It was more than that, I bet. So what you're saying is that the victim was still alive at that time.
Of course. He was alive and well.
Silence.
If so, then you admit you took a man who was alive and well and silenced him permanently with this.
What? No. Black hole confirmed. Dead ahead. It's no good, Captain. I'm getting sucked in.
Mr. Starbuck, you are not in space. Please give me please give your testimony seriously.
It was just nerves, but maybe I shouldn't have said he was alive and well. It was more like he was slumped over.
Those are complete opposite ends of the spectrum.
Like always, I took the elevator down to the middle level and headed for the corridor.
Hold it.
Is that the elevator inside the launch pad area?
That's right, we always use it to get to and from the cockpit.
That makes sense. So he was just using the route he always used. In spite of the fact that there had just been an explosion. Huh? I think Mr. Starbuck's hiding something. Something pretty big.
Clay had passed out by the time we got the order to evacuate.
Hold it.
Passed out? Why was he passed out?
Probably because of the explosion. The noise and vibration were incredible. It's little wonder a person would pass out, right?
You didn't. I guess. Not that I'd know. I only vibrated a little bit.
I've been hit by space debris. The main engine's on fire. It's gonna blow.
He's becoming more and more Shatner, actually. Yes, I see. I guess it does make sense that someone would pass out. Especially if the person in question is Mr. Starbuck.
Anyway. I didn't kill Clay. I was trying to save him.
Hold it.
Don't worry, I understand. I'll make sure everything turns out all right.
But everyone's glaring at me like I did it.
Apollo, you have to reassure him better than that! And how am I supposed to do that? Try to imagine how he's feeling and use that to figure out how to boost his confidence. Mr. Starbuck, think back to what Clay used to always say. It's times like these when he would repeat, "I'm fine," to himself. It was a technique he invented called cords of steel. I stole it. He's dead now. Maybe I'm the killer. Did I kill him?
I'm fine? Yeah, I guess he did say that a lot. Like way too much. But even if I shout it, Clay will still be dead. Hey, what's the use?
Can somebody please reassure me now? Apollo, there's something strange about Mr. Starbuck's testimony. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. There's a glaring contradiction. I just wonder why it's there and what it means for our case. Well, it doesn't look like he's lying, at least. I guess I'll have to show some evidence. Alright. right? What evidence do we have that shows a glaring contradiction? All I did was support Clay over my shoulder and get us all over the rocket. Let's look at our things. Autopsy report, space center diagram, utility knife, bombing report, and the middle level of the launch pad near the elevator. The bombs went off despite tight security. Police officers and riot police had been standing by, gave the evacuation instructions. Let's see. Security camera video. You were also carrying these asteroid bits, though I don't know if that's relevant. A biometric door lock operated by fingerprint recognition. Only the defendant, the victim, and the Space Center director had access. But who pressed it? Let's see. Like always, I took the elevator down to the middle level and headed for the corridor. This is, I think, our sticking point. Like, oh, but there'd just been an explosion near the elevator. Right? I mean, that may not matter from the inside. It may just be a one-way lock. I think that would make sense. So you don't accidentally lock someone in by an exploding rocket. Yeah, I think this is it because they specifically state an explosion on the middle level of the launch pad near the elevator. So it seems like taking the elevator will be really weird when there was just an explosion.
Objection!
Yep. Mr. Starbuck, I need your testimony to be as accurate as possible. Was I not being accurate? No, because it's impossible for you to have taken the elevator down to the middle level.
What makes you say that, Mr. Justice?
Please recall where the bomb went off in Launchpad 1. Also recall that after the explosion, the middle level elevator was engulfed in flames.
Oh, you're right. Which means...
Exactly. The launch pad's elevator would have been unusable. In other words... Mr. Starbuck, your statement is decidedly inconsistent with the facts. Whoa. Rock and roll courtroom. What's with the helmet?
Mission Command! Mission Command, do you read me? Come in, please!
Objection!
This is Mission Command. I need you to pay attention! Stop this nonsense and answer my questions, Mr. Starbuck. Yarg! My helmet! Huh? Losing oxygen! My oxygen tank! I can't breathe! Oxygen concentration, body temperature declining! Requesting medical assistance! Ah!
Mr. Starbuck, we're not in space right now. Please stop pretending you've lost consciousness and stand back up. I can breathe fine, I think. So you should be fine.
I apologize, Your Honor. I forgot I was still on Earth. I've just been in space so long. I feel like we all just got a real glimpse of Solomon Starbuck, the astronaut. Yeah, he seemed more like an astronaut now than when he was doing all that sighing. Mr. Starbuck, could you please explain the inconsistency in your statement about how you used the middle-level elevator? I was nervous and I said the wrong thing. I'm sorry. I actually took a different route, I think. A different route? I hope you're able to deliver a straight story this time. I'll get right to it this time. Maybe. No, I mean probably. Where are my buttons? I'm trying to push buttons in there. Where are my buttons? Probably.
It's understandable to be nervous, but let me remind you accuracy is paramount in court, and lying is bad. Don't do it. Please.
My escape route. Let's see. My escape route. What I said before was a mistake. I remember now. I took a different route. Maybe. Probably. With the capsule and clay in my arms, I made my way down from the upper level. He doesn't know because he's the one who passed out. I'm calling that. I'm calling that right now. I made my way down from the upper level. So you're saying you escaped without using the elevator? That's right. There's a ladder that spans the upper and middle levels. I used that ladder to get to the middle level. Luckily, the fire hadn't reached the ladder, so we could make our escape that way. And the capsule you mentioned, I suppose you mean the thing next to Mr. Taryn here. Was the capsule that important that you'd risk your life to take it with you? It almost goes without saying, but yeah, that capsule contains asteroid samples. Therefore, it's invaluable as research material. With his spacesuit on, Clay weighed a ton, but securing the capsule was also important. I need you to answer to the best of your ability. Mr. Starbuck, please remember that your verdict is riding on your testimony.
Maybe I am guilty after all. I wonder if you could see the stars in prison. Bet it's more comfortable than a spaceship.
He really doesn't seem to know. Like, he really doesn't seem to actually know what happened. And that's, I think that he panicked, passed out. As we're seeing, he flips out when something goes wrong. And Clay carried him out before someone else stabbed him. He didn't witness nothing. But how do we get there?
I see my escape route. What I said before was a mistake.
How could you make mistake such a basic fact?
Hey, everybody makes mistakes, but try thinking about the vastness of space instead. From Earth, it takes 4 light years to travel to our nearest neighboring star.
4 light years are distance, not time, astronaut.
So you see, compared to the vast expanse of space, human error is insignificant.
I wish you'd consider it just a little more significant than 0. Enough jabbering. Get on with your testimony.
I remember now. I took a different route. Maybe. Probably.
Hold it!
Maybe. Probably. Did I hear you right, Mr. Starbuck?
I didn't say either of those things. Mission control, come in, please. An error has occurred in the sound system. Activate the emergency tin can telephone.
Hello?
Oh, no! Tin can telephones are ineffective in the vacuum of space. Actually, they would work because the string would vibrate, as long as there was air for your mouth to hit the tin. Stop this nonsense or I will sever you and your tin can telephone.
Alright, I'm begging you. I'll tell the truth, just don't sever anything.
Apollo, is he gonna be alright? I'm starting to think he's not. I think he's got space madness.
Let's see. So about when we were running away. With the capsule and Clay in my arms, I made my way down from the upper level.
So Mr. Starbuck escaped with Clay and the capsule, which means it's just like in the footage. I can see why he couldn't run, though. I think the 50 on his tank is going to be relevant for some reason, because it's pretty prominent. He must have weighed over 200 pounds, just by himself. Yeah, and he had to support Clay, who was another 200 pounds. Can you lift 400 pounds? Because you look like kind of a weenie. Plus, he had to ensure the safety of that capsule. I don't think I could have even walked under those circumstances. Walking straight forward is probably about all I would have been able to manage. So, okay, there's an inconsistency in here. So the mistake doesn't matter. The different route doesn't really matter. Yeah, I feel like you may be right that the stairs are a thing that's important. So would I use the diagram? Yeah, I think you just press that and point to the ladder.
Objection!
Yep, it's ladder troubles. Mr. Starbuck, why don't you just tell the truth? The truth? Let's see. The Earth is blue. No, that's not right. So, I guess the Earth isn't blue? Yeah, that's it. It's partially blue. The truth, Mr. Starbuck! The oxygen concentration is super low in this area. Prepare the emergency oxygen tanks!
Mr. Justice, the witness appears confused. Please help draw out the truth from him.
Mr. Starbuck, under the circumstances at the time, you couldn't possibly have reached the boarding lounge via the upper level route. Huh? Not as long as this was along the escape route. I'm assuming we are talking about the ladder. Right? Yes. That was the whole reason that we pointed it out in the first place.
Take that!
To get down from the upper to the middle level, where the Launchpad 1 corridor is, you would have to go down the ladder. Isn't that right, Mr. Starbuck?
Of course, that was the only way we could escape.
Objection!
But how would that work? At the time, you were supporting Mr. Terran over your shoulder, were you not? And remember, he was in full space gear as well, putting him at over 200 pounds. Oh yeah, to be 200 pounds because of space gear, and not just because you're a muscular dude. Oh, Japan.
Well, it's easy on the moon. Gravity is only 1/6 of what it is on Earth.
Objection!
But the Space Center is located on Earth. Short of being an octopus, climbing a ladder with an adult male in space gear in one arm, while carrying the capsule in your other, is impossible, wouldn't you say?
Oh!
So, Mr. Starbuck, how exactly did you climb down that ladder with your arms full? Mr. Starbuck, come clean and tell us the truth, now!
Engineer, where's that engineer? Oxygen leak detected due to faulty maintenance. Evacuate immediately!
What the? He's flying the coop!
Help! I'm caught on the ceiling! Help! Anyone! Bailiff, prepare the cherry picker. We must launch our rescue mission at once. Hold on, I've got it here.
Well, that's one way to take off while being questioned. I'd rather prove his innocence so he can go to space again someday, for real.